Before we dive in, did you know that over 90% of our viewers watch without subscribing? If you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Our goal is 500 likes. Let's make it happen. Now, let's get into today's story. Marriage is meant to be built on love, trust, and companionship. At least that's what I believed when I married Daniel 12 years ago. I was young, hopeful, and convinced we would create a life together that would stand the test of time. But life has a funny way of showing you that nothing is ever as simple as it seems. As I sit here now, reflecting on the choices I made and the consequences that followed, I wonder, could things have turned out differently? Or was this always the path I was meant to take? Daniel was, by all accounts, a good husband. He was responsible, hardworking, and always ensured we lived comfortably. He wasn't the most romantic man, but I never expected grand gestures. What mattered most to me was loyalty and dependability, and for years I convinced myself that was enough. But over time, something inside me shifted. Maybe it was the monotony of daily routines, the predictability of our conversations, or the slow fading of the way we once looked at each other. Somewhere along the way, we became more like business partners than a couple deeply in love. At first, I brushed off the feeling. Every marriage has its ups and downs, right? It's normal to feel disconnected sometimes. But as time passed, the emptiness within me grew. I found myself lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling while Daniel slept beside me, wondering if he even noticed how far apart we had drifted. If he did, he never said a word. Then one day, I met someone who made me feel seen again. His name was Adrian. I didn't seek him out. It wasn't something I had planned. It just happened. He was a friend of a friend, someone I met at a gathering. I attended more out of obligation than genuine interest. I almost didn't go that night. And now I wonder, how different would my life be if I had simply stayed home? Adrian was everything Daniel wasn't. Where Daniel was quiet and serious, Adrian was full of life, charismatic, and effortlessly charming. He had this way of making people feel like they were the only person in the room when he spoke to them. Our first conversation was casual, nothing more than polite small talk. But something about him awakened a part of me I hadn't felt in years. I thought it would be a fleeting encounter, a moment quickly forgotten. But life had other plans. Our paths kept crossing, at the grocery store, in passing on the street, in the most unexpected places. At first, I chalked it up to coincidence, but soon those chance encounters started feeling a little less like accidents. Maybe we were both drawn to something we didn't fully understand yet. I don't know when it crossed the line. Maybe it was the day we sat in a cafe for hours, lost in conversation, as if we had known each other forever. Or maybe it was the way he made me laugh, something I hadn't even realized I missed until that moment. It didn't happen all at once. It was slow, like a seed planted in my mind, growing quietly day by day. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. After all, it was just conversation, right? Just someone who made me feel alive again. But deep down, I knew. And once you start down a path like this, there's no turning back. Deep down, I knew better. I knew that if I had to keep it a secret from Daniel, then it wasn't as innocent as I wanted to believe. At first, the guilt was just a whisper, something easy to ignore. But as my conversations with Adrian became more frequent, that whisper grew into a relentless voice I couldn't silence. Every morning, before even saying good morning to my husband, I would check my phone, hoping to see a message from Adrian. I found excuses to step away just to steal a moment with him. With every laugh, every shared thought, every moment of connection, I felt myself slipping further away from the life I had built with Daniel. I never meant for it to happen, but it did. And once you cross a line, there's no going back. I wish I could say I stopped myself before it went too far, that I realized the risk I was taking and walked away before it was too late. But the truth is, I didn't. By the time I fully understood what I had done, I was already in too deep. I remember the first time I truly betrayed Daniel, not just in thought or feeling, but in action. For weeks, I told myself Adrian was just a friend, that there was no harm in talking to someone who made me feel alive again. But the moment I chose to meet him in secret, I knew. I knew I had crossed a line I could never uncross. It was a rainy afternoon, the kind where the sky hangs low and the air carries the scent of wet pavement. I told Daniel I was visiting my sister, which wasn't entirely a lie. She did live in that direction. But instead I drove to a quiet park just outside the city where Adrian was waiting for me. My hands trembled as I gripped the steering wheel, my heart pounding. I sat there trying to convince myself this wasn't a mistake, that it was just a conversation, that it was harmless. But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. Adrian stood beneath a tree, shielding himself from the drizzle. When he saw me, he smiled, that familiar, easy smile that made my heart ache in ways I couldn't explain. As I stepped out of the car, he reached for my hand. I should have pulled away. I should have told him this was wrong, that I couldn't do this to Daniel. But I didn't. Instead, I let him hold my hand. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Alive. We talked for hours, sitting on a bench as the rain softened into a mist around us. I told him about my life, my marriage, the way I felt invisible in my own home. He listened in a way Daniel never did, as if every word I spoke truly mattered. And then, as the sky darkened, he looked at me and said, "You deserve to be happy, Evelyn." Hearing my name on his lips like that, spoken with such softness, sent a shiver down my spine. It wasn't just what he said, it was how he said it, as if he truly believed it, as if I deserved more than the life I had. I don't know. Who moved first? Maybe it was him, maybe it was me. But suddenly, we were too close. My heart pounded, and for the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about Daniel. I wasn't thinking about right or wrong. I was only thinking about how good it felt to be wanted again. I wish I could say that was the only time. But once you let yourself fall, it's impossible to stop. One meeting turned into 2, then 3, then more. Soon, I was living a double life. With Daniel, I was the same devoted wife, cooking dinner, making small talk, pretending everything was normal. But with Adrian, I was someone else entirely, someone lighter, someone free. The guilt never truly disappeared, but I learned how to quiet it. I told myself that Daniel didn't notice, that he was too wrapped up in work to see the changes in you, and maybe that was true, for a while. But then things started to unravel. It began with small things, things I could ignore if I tried hard enough. Daniel's questions became more pointed. "Where were you this afternoon? Why didn't you answer your phone?" I brushed them off, convinced he was just being nosy, that he had no real reason to suspect anything. But deep down, I knew better. Then one evening I came home later than I should have. I had promised myself I wouldn't see Adrian again, but I did. Time slipped away from me. But when I walked through the front door, Daniel was already sitting at the dining table, his untouched plate of food in front of him. "Where were you?" His voice was calm. Too calm. "I told you, I was with my sister." I lied. He didn't respond right away. He just looked at me, his eyes searching mine. Then without a word, he pulled his phone from his pocket and set it on the table. The screen was open to a message from my sister. "Evelyn wasn't with me today. Is everything okay?" The blood drained from my face. My mind raced for an excuse, a way to explain it away. But I had nothing. My hands trembled as I set my purse down. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. I went for a drive. I finally whispered. Daniel leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "Try again." And just like that, the fragile world I had built on lies came crashing down. For the first time since this all began, I saw it. The hurt in his eyes. The betrayal, the quiet devastation. Not anger. Anger would have been easier. Daniel's face said it all. The realization that the person he loved had betrayed him. "How long?" His voice was raw. I swallowed hard. A few months. He exhaled like I'd knocked the air from his lungs, rubbing his face. I thought we were okay, he whispered. We weren't, but not because of him. I had changed. Silence stretched between us. Finally, he stood. I need time. I can't do this right now. Then he was gone. That night, he didn't come to bed, and for the first time in months, I didn't reach for Adrian. Instead, I lay awake, drowning in the weight of what I'd done. By morning, Daniel was gone. His side of the closet half empty. His toothbrush missing. A note on the counter. I need space, don't contact me, I should have expected it. But reading the words in his handwriting crushed me. Adrian texted, "Are you okay?" I stared at the screen before typing 2 words. It's over a year has passed. The divorce papers came. I signed without protest. Daniel moved on, as he should. People ask if I regret it. I don't have an answer. I regret hurting him. But do I regret Adrian? The feeling of being alive again? Choices have consequences. Some mistakes can never be undone. I chased a fleeting spark and lost the only person who truly mattered. If I could say one thing to Daniel now, it would be this. I was wrong and I am sorry. Life moves on. But some mistakes never stop following you.